Hi, I'm Mike Ryan. Today's July 1st, 2025. And I'm responding to a post that Auren Hoffman made regarding why, if you are ambitious, you aren't in Silicon Valley, Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, or New York, given that recent studies have shown that if you're not staying where you are and building a company, if you're really serious about building a tech company, uh, 80% are in the Bay Area, or people move to the Bay Area versus 15% in New York, and others over the past few years, maybe they're going to Austin or Miami or the like. And I have some thoughts, given some personal history as well as what I've observed over the past 20 years living in the Bay Area. And that is, I'm have lived in 11 states at some point in my life because I originally was a hospital CEO and moved around quite a bit. Uh, and that's a little bit different than being a tech entrepreneur or a tech person. And one of the reasons that I say move are multifaceted. One is that I'm severe dyslexic, by the way, so I will stumble over my words. And so one of the reasons is just look at the educational system that is in the Bay Area. Of course, you've got that in New York and other places, but here you have Stanford, you have Berkeley, you have UCSF, and you have other arts and other technical and digital media companies, as well as education, where people get education. But the one of the primary, other secondary is really not primary, secondary is the look at Silicon Valley as far as venture capital. And most venture capital, although they're all over in Massachusetts and worldwide and the like in different branches, really having the cluster of venture capital really launched from Silicon Valley. And if you look at the statistics, most will invest within a 200-mile radius into software or tech companies, or venture capital will go into startups that are in this area. And then the other is just the ecosystem of where you work, where you live, where if you're religious, where you go to temple or church or synagogue or other places. So I think that what I've learned after being here, and I had a startup based in Washington, D.C., although I was living in Louisiana at the time, that they wanted us to move from Washington, D.C. to Silicon Valley. And we were hesitant, but knew to get the next level of funding, we probably needed to move to Silicon Valley and Market Street specifically. That company was Health Online, that was an early company within the internet and the enterprise within selling to billion-dollar health systems in million-plus market populations. But the one thing that I think that I have witnessed firsthand, and not necessarily shows up in any type of textbook, is the ecosystem beyond where you go and work. As a 24-year-old, again, that's the really the challenge that Auren Hoffman puts out there is, why aren't you in Silicon Valley? Again, considering so much it happens here, and even with the COVID, and people have left to other places throughout the world, or in Miami and Austin, and the like. And that is something you can't get in those other places, having lived in many of them, including New York, is that you have an ecosystem where I witnessed over the past 20 years, having a son that went to soccer games or went to school, and we decided to keep him in San Francisco proper, as opposed to Peninsula or Marin, which I'm sure is very similar in nature as far as the folks you run into. So if you're a 24-year-old and you're spending your first 4 or 5 years with your startup, more than likely you're probably single, and you're probably spending uh, 30 days, I mean, 30 hours a day, 9 days a week, and 500 days a year. And again, I said I'm dyslexic. You can do the math on that one. But you are so into your vision for your company and pulling together the talent and the people you work with, you're spending the majority of your time there. As you get kids, if you do have children, then you are sending them to schools and they're interacting with people that are literally pioneering industries, whether it's now AI or previously was the internet or organizations like LinkedIn or Google or Salesforce or Zoom or others that are here in the Bay Area, the Magnificent Seven. My son has been in school with kids have started. The families have started those, and so it's a um, ecosystem that is unique here than any other place. I'm sure it's very similar, having worked in the World Trade Center, where you had Cantor Fitzgerald at the top floor of World Trade Center 2, where I had my office on the 85th floor. That was the financial epicenter of finance, and so I kind of concur with Auren, who happened to be one of the business partners of one of my mentees who called me out of the blue on LinkedIn when he was 20 years old and still a computer science senior. And they started rapidly. That today is through some acquisitions, Ramp, and they went public, I think just under, $4 billion in 2018 or 19. But the point is, this is the epicenter that if you're 24 years old, you probably need to head west, young man or woman, and jump into the ecosystem, and you can chart out your vision of where you want to be. So good luck.